Hello again, this is the Transfer Show. Now, Mark Gay, as we all know...
Young Adam Wharton potentially going to Manchester United. They want to splash the cash and get Adam Wharton from Crystal Palace. I mean, great idea, because he's a great player, isn't he?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Proving himself for England as well.
Yeah, and there's a strange situation at the moment where you've got Adam Wharton and Elliot Anderson, two superb talents, young England players, outside of the big clubs. So there's clearly talent to be had if you're among the big six, as it were. I think for United it makes a lot of sense, because midfield has been, for me, their biggest weakness, really going back even to the end of the Fergie era. They never really replaced the Scholes, Carrick midfield. They've never been able to control games in the middle of the pitch in the way that a big club should be able to do. They've papered over the cracks with different solutions. I think it's been the worst part of Ruben Amorim's football, has just been this absence in midfield. It's partly the formation, but it's partly just...
On a deadline day move from Crystal Palace to Liverpool. So, where did it all go wrong? And is there any prospect of a deal in January? Well, Mark and Carve have the inside track on exactly what happened to this deal from both sides of the divide. So let's get into it. All right, Carve, first of all, why did it go all the way down to the wire?
You know what, I'm trying to remember exactly what happened. And I do remember the day after deadline day, I was driving to work and a couple of people who were involved in the deal called me, and there was so much information coming out that I had to actually drive to a Tesco's car park to park and sit down, get a pen and pad out and write everything down that they were telling me. But basically what they were telling me is that Liverpool wanted Mark Gahey, but they didn't really want him that much.
Oh.
They were quite sort of laid back about whether they were going to get him or not, and they didn't really, go all out to get him. Quite late in the window, they got in touch with Crystal Palace and said, look, we're willing to pay £35 million for him. He's only got a year left on his contract. And they didn't really budge from that. There was no sort of real desire to get him at all costs. And obviously Crystal Palace didn't want to lose him for nothing next summer. So they accepted reluctantly the offer. And we all know what happened on deadline day. The player by then was keen to move to Liverpool. He was having his medical. But the problem was that Crystal Palace could not put options in front of Oliver Glasner, which Oliver Glasner was willing to accept. He was saying, for instance, to Steve Parish, the executive chairman, look, no, this guy's not good enough if we're going to sell Mark. And to give Steve Parish credit, my information was that around 4 o'clock, he said, I'm really sorry, but Mark Gahey's not going anywhere. He has to stay with Crystal Palace. We haven't been able to find a replacement who is good enough. And that news was, passed on to Liverpool. And then eventually Steve had a face-to-face meeting with Mark Gahey and also Mark Gahey's father, I think, and his representatives to explain the situation to him. And of course, Mark Gahey was upset. But absolute and total credit to Mark Gahey. He's put that all behind him, and his focus 100% has been on Crystal Palace this summer. So I think the reason he didn't end up at Liverpool was I don't think Liverpool really went all out to get him. If they really, really wanted him, they could have moved much earlier in the window for him.
Mark, so Liverpool didn't want him that much. Is that what you heard?
Liverpool are one of the biggest clubs in the country and one of the biggest clubs in the world. They're always relaxed about who they sign, and there has to be a desperation from the player to go and play at Liverpool and be a part of the fabric of that institution that is that football club. So they're always relaxed, and they always want players that want to join them. And Mark Gahey's situation, because he's so respectful to Crystal Palace and what they've done for him and the platform they've given him in his career, which has elevated him into the position of being a key member of that England squad, I think he was very relaxed on that situation as well. Liverpool's stance on all of their transfer activity over the course of this summer is it the right player? Is it the right price? And do they add to what we're doing? And if that set of criteria is all ticked, then they'll go and try and get the player. But they are very relaxed on the situation. There'll also probably be those at Liverpool that say, well, we'll be in the mix in the summer when he's available for free, because we are that big as a football club and we can
Well,
command...
not if Mark Gay is watching this and he's heard they weren't that bothered before.
Carve's perspective.
No, I didn't say they weren't that bothered, but the first time there was any talks between Liverpool and Crystal Palace about him moving was at the Community Shield. So this was just before the season was going to start. The point I'm making is if he was a priority signing for Liverpool,
they'd have gone all in.
They would have gone in much earlier, and maybe they would have increased their bids for him, but they didn't.
And there were other players that they were looking at as well. We noticed they've obviously signed. Leone was a brilliant defender that they've managed to get over the line. Obviously, they've got Virgil and Konate as well, so they've got two established centre-backs that have just won the Premier League. And the message would have been, well, there's no guarantees that you're going to be starting games. Mark Gay would have been saying, well, I need to be playing because I've got a World Cup in 2026, so therefore do I take that opportunity to move? So I think it was one of those situations where Liverpool wanted the player, but Liverpool's always bigger than any individual, so it has to be the desire and the aspiration that actually, do you want to come to us? They presented a package to Dean Howson, and he decided to go to Real Madrid, and there would have been other players over the course of the summer where